Okay, so today we're going to talk about the double Torah portion that we read this week, the portion of Tazria and Metzora. So if you were to take a poll, and we mentioned that Mashiach is coming, many people here are happy to hear that, but some people are maybe annoyed because they don't understand and have any idea what is Mashiach. What is this revelation of the coming of Mashiach? Now, many people cannot relate to it. It looks like a dream to us. We know that it's a foundation in Judaism, the concept of Mashiach's arrival. But when we look and we see all the problems that are happening in the world and all the things that are going on in the world, it doesn't seem practical. So it sort of doesn't even seem truthful that after so many years, over 1900 years of being in exile, it doesn't seem real that everything we see is going to change. So today we're going to discuss that Mashiach is not something in the future, that Mashiach is not something in the future, but it is in the making right now. It's like you have food in your oven baking. It's in the process of being baked. It's not like you have to still buy the ingredients. The ingredients are already there, already put together, and already in the oven. In order to understand this, we're going to speak about the double Torah portion, and we're going to examine the two names of this week's Torah portions, and we're going to discover a fascinating insight about Mashiach. So that's what we are going to be discussing now. So in this week's Torah portion, we read two Torah portions. Now, the reason we read two is because there's not enough Shabboses, there's not enough Shabbats during the year to cover all the Torah portions. Now, one of the reasons is, I'll just give you an example, not this past Shabbat, but the Shabbat before that, it was Passover, so you don't read a regular Torah portion, you read a reading connected with Passover. So you miss out a lot of weeks. So we double them up every once in a while. This coming week, we're going to read two Torah portions. The reason we double them is because they are related one to the other. In both Torah portions, it speaks about a tsaras, which is a super-rational affliction. It could appear on the body, on clothes, on the house. In the biblical era, they would get this sort of affliction, you call it a blemish, a rash that would grow on their body. In the first portion, it speaks about different types of tsaras that could grow. In the second Torah portion, it speaks about the purification process. Therefore, the two Torah portions go one with the next. One speaks about the tsaras, the affliction, and the next Torah portion speaks about more of the purification process. Now, it seems that not one of these names are connected to what the Torah portion is speaking about. So a name is connected to what is being discussed. So the first Torah portion speaks about blemishes, but the name Tazria, which means to conceive, is only connected to the first 8 verses. The first 8 verses speak about if a woman conceives and gives birth to a child, so she's impure 40 days from a boy, 80 days for a girl, and it goes into different discussions. But why would the name be called conceive if the majority of the Torah portion speaks about affliction, it speaks about blemishes? Now, the name should be connected at least to, like you see a store that's called the burger place or the pizza shop. Of course, most of the things they sell there is pizza. The drugstore, the majority of the things being sold are drugs. That the name Tazria, which means to conceive, would be connected to the entire Torah portion. Now, you cannot say that, oh, wait a minute, this is the words of the beginning of the Torah portion, and that's why it says that name, because it's not. If you look at the 2 verses here on the screen, the first verse says God spoke to Moses. Okay, so if you want to go by the first verse, the name of the Torah portion should have been either Vayedaber or Hashem or Moshe or so on and so forth. The name only comes in the second verse in word number 6. It's not, or word number 7. It's not that it's this name because it's the beginning of the Torah portion. If you want to say the first verse, the first word, it should have said Vayedaber. But we're only giving a name that's way into verse number 2. Now, and on the contrary, the concept of Tazria, which means to conceive, does not reflect the entire Torah portion. So the sages say that the reason you get this affliction is because you're speaking slander. So what do we name the Torah portion? Mitzorah. But wait a minute. The Torah doesn't speak about the leprosy. It speaks about the purification process. Now, the reason someone has all these rashes is because he's not watching his mouth. He's harming his body and he's harming the people around him. So he has to leave all the 3 camps, as we're going to discuss in a moment. But the name doesn't show on the concept of purification. It shows on the person that has the leprosy, that has the affliction. As we see here in text number 3, it actually, the Torah portion speaks about the purification process. So again, both names do not really fit to what's being discussed in the Torah portion. Portion number 1's name is conceiving, and the Torah portion speaks about the opposite of conceiving, which is giving birth to a child, which is so beautiful. The first Torah portion speaks about a person that's unfortunately afflicted and has a rash because of something bad he did. The second Torah portion, which speaks of the purification process, the name shows not on the purification process, but on the downside of him receiving it. So what's going on here? The names don't seem that they fit to the actual discussion. Well, before we answer this, let's speak about the concept of punishment and consequences. Rash is a super rational punishment for a person that abuses his slander and his speech. Historically, most people think that a punishment is directly an outcome of what you're saying. So you steal, God forbid your punishment is you're going to lose your money. You desecrate Shabbos, so Hashem will punish you out of a response to your punishment. Torah doesn't believe in that. The Torah says, as you see here in the photo, the Torah gives a person a cleansing process. When someone is suffering, God is not here to punish them. It's to help them get cleaner. Like a clothes that has dirt on it, you put it in the washing machine to make it fresh. So the Torah is giving a person leprosy and a blemish or a affliction is not for the purpose of punishment, but because your soul is affected, so you are having a cleansing process. You go into quarantine for 13 days. What is this quarantine process? Why? Not because he's contagious. He's not contagious. This is a spiritual disease that comes to people that speak slander. The concept here is that he has to leave all three camps. If you see in this photo, the inside is the Holy Temple. Surrounding it is the camp of the Levites. Surrounding that is where all the Israelites were. When someone speaks slander, they must leave all three camps and be completely quarantined for 13 days. It is not a punishment, but it's a cleansing process. It's to heal him. If he gossiped and slandered amongst people, he has to leave people. He has to be away from the people. For instance, you drink too much beer. Guess what? Do not any stores that have beer. Stay away from bad behavior. Don't walk into any stores that sell beer for 3 months. And then maybe you'll stay away from drinking beer. We're not talking about an alcoholic that has to completely withdraw. We're talking about someone that drinks too much beer because they like beer. So the same thing is in many behaviors that unfortunately we have. How do you get away from this behavior? How do you stop speaking juicy slander? Through staying in your house and don't talk to people for a little while, and then you can go talk to people and hopefully you'll start speaking nicely. If you have an issue that you get angry, guess what? Stay calm. Stay completely on the calm side for a week and don't get angry. And then you'll end up in the middle where you'll get upset about things that are legitimate and rightfully so. The proper way to learn limitations in your life is to stay away from it for a little while. If someone has a jealousy problem, if someone is too much indulging, stay away from it to the extreme, and then you'll end up in the middle. It's not a punishment, it's a cleansing process. After the Kohen examines him and he's impure, quarantine. When he's done, the Kohen examines him again, and then he could go back to the camp. So now we have a beautiful understanding why we call the name of the Torah portion, conceiving, because it's referring not only to the concept of birth, but it's also referring to the entire Torah portion. The entire Torah portion is discussing here about the experience of one that received leprosy, one that received this affliction. And here is the explanation. It's not negative. On the contrary, the reason we call the Torah portion conceiving is because what he's going through, this entire process of quarantining, because he got the leprosy and the affliction and that he has to be put in quarantine, it's not negative, it's positive. It's a rebirth, as we're going to explain in length in a moment. The whole experience is helping him start a new life. Like I gave an example before, if someone is unfortunately gets angry, he has an anger management problem. Solution: be calm for 2 weeks, completely to the other extreme. Now, it might be painful because you can't really get upset about anything, but it's okay. It's a painful process, but it's going to help you end up somewhere in the middle. It's going to cleanse in you. His process is not a punishment, it's a rebirth. So the Mitzorah abused his speech, and therefore he has to go into quarantine, and the whole isolation process gives him a brand new life. And that's why the name is Tazria, which means conceiving. When a woman conceives with the help of God, 9 months later, she gives birth, which is the birth process. The 9 months is preparing for a new life. And now we understand the second portion, why it's called Mitzorah, which is the leprosy. The Torah portion should have been called purification, because we discussed that the next portion speaks about what he has to do to purify himself. But now we understand that the Mitzorah, leprosy, and the impurity and his purification are not two different things. It's actually a part of purification, part of the process of cleansing himself. So the name of what he got, it's not negative. Hashem gave it to him to help him become a better person. Jewish tradition gave these names and chose these names specifically to reframe and explain to us what it means to get a punishment. It's not a punishment, it's a medicine. God forbid, when someone is suffering, you could look at it in two ways. You could look at it that chas v'shalom, God forbid, Hashem is punishing you. He's taking revenge from you. You look at it like he's the devil, God forbid, that he's trying to of you for your behavior. No. The Torah is telling us Hashem is giving us pain once in a while. Everybody experiences some level of pain, not to punish you, to cleanse in you, to purify you, to make you a better person. And unfortunately, we see that when someone is going through some pain, it cleanses them, it refines them. And that's what this process of the Mitzorah is. It teaches us on our life. And this is also what we started with, is helping us understand the era of Mashiach. The time of Mashiach is going to be a peaceful time, very spiritual. It's going to be very perfect in many ways. The whole world's going to be connected with godliness. Your eyes will see godliness. It sounds very nice. But when you look at the world around you, there's problems, there's tension, there's wars, there is battles, there's robbery, there's abuse, there's murder, there's trauma, there's sickness. Mashiach seems like a dream in the far future. According to what we just mentioned about the Metzora, our time and the time of Mashiach is not two separate times. It's one time. We are evolving. We're preparing for the Mashiach. We are preparing now. It's not an ingredient that we didn't purchase yet. You already purchased it and it's in the oven. Every moment of your life, every week of your life, every month, every year, you're closer to the Mashiach. If you see here in text number 10a, it says that we see here that the first day of creation, Hashem said that it says Hashem has his hovering spirit. What does this mean? Hashem was hovering over the world. So it explains the world was darkness. The darkness already experienced the spirit of Mashiach, as Rashi says. If you think the world is dark now, it was darker when the world was created. We're constantly transforming darkness to light. We must constantly uncover the darkness. The world is constantly becoming a better place. Mashiach is not that far away. His spirit and energy are the driving force behind the transformation process that is changing the world and bringing it slowly closer to us. We're getting ready for that era, for the time of Mashiach. To make us understand it a little better, the first Lubavitcher Rebbe gave an example of childbirth. While the child is in the mother's womb, while the fetus is in the womb, what's going on there? It's not of the world. He has no connection to real life, he has no connection to any people. And this is what the Alter Rebbe explains. Just like the child in the mother's womb is completely away from the world, but he's preparing to grow to get involved in the world. It's a preparation process. It's part of the process. When the child is in the mother's womb, it has eyes, ears, nose, and everything, but it's not completely functioning until it's born. We also have eyes, we have intellect like a child does. But when Mashiach comes, your eyes will see godliness. We are preparing for that now, just like the 9 months during pregnancy. If you tell the child in the mother's womb that when he's going to be in an unknown world, he'll look at you like you're crazy. But the time in the womb is a preparation for that. Even though now it seems like Mashiach is distant away, you could be happy that we're preparing for it now. We maybe don't see miracles. We don't see any transformation. Every day is a different day, but we could start feeling it. We could feel the development of Mashiach. Every day we're getting closer to the birth. We are getting closer to the revealed state, just like the child. Month number 8, month number 9, getting closer to childbirth. This helps us refrain from looking at it as it's something. Everything that happened in the last 5,000 plus, and especially in the last 1900, and in our last years of suffering. It's birth pains. It is the pain of the ultimate redemption. It might seem challenging. It might seem dramatic, but it's like the pregnancy that are the sign of what's coming very soon. The growth is one way to lead to the future. It is preparing for the future. We have to reframe the past and the present, looking at it that it's a preparation for the future. Not only a preparation, but it's in the process. It's in our hands to uncover it. We have the role to play now to uncover the Mashiach, which is hidden inside us. Through every mitzvah you do. When we were children, we would have on the wall little bricks. Every time you did another mitzvah, you would add a brick. Another mitzvah, you would add a brick. Adding bricks to the ultimate redemption, to the building of the third holy temple. Don't look at Judaism as it's an obligation, but look at it that we're molding and getting ready for the ultimate redemption. We're in the process. Every moment now of studying Torah and spreading Judaism, you decided you're going to keep Shabbos better. You decided you're going to keep kosher better. You decided you're going to be an honest person. All of this is uncovering the truth in the world, which will be completely uncovered by the coming of Mashiach. It's not that one brings to the next, but the present and the future are intertwined with each other. And that's the idea of these two Torah portions. It reminds us that it's a process. Tazria, which is the conceiving, is part of the cleansing process. Not two separate things. We're all intertwined to get ready for each other. It's a beautiful idea that comes out of this. You feel the Mashiach now. You feel it already in your life. Mashiach is already here. You just have to uncover his revelation. You have to just reveal it. It's like you have money in a safe. All you need is the key or the combination to open it up and take it out. And that's what we're working on, to get that key and that combination and uncover the Mashiach, to redeem us from this exile. The Rebbe's father, in text number 15, the Rebbe's father explained that Lahavi Limosa Mashiach means to uncover the Mashiach. The Rebbe said many times that is here, you just have to open your eyes and see revelation. And this is what we started in the beginning of the class. Mashiach is not something foreign. Because think about it, the world looks mixed up. So many things happening in the world, of course, to the positive, but unfortunately a lot to the negative. And this is what it teaches us. That the world in the outside maybe looks bad, but deep inside, a beautiful world. We just have to uncover it. We have to prepare and bring more spirituality into the world to uncover the Mashiach. It's constantly being worked on in every single thing you do during the day, until Mashiach is ready to declare himself as the Mashiach. He is here, present, and imminent. We have to change our mindset and realize that this world is a beautiful place. All we need to do is uncover the Mashiach that's inside it. It brings us to much more excitement about the Mashiach. It is here. It just needs to be uncovered. The strength of doing a mitzvah to this process. You're doing it. You're actually bringing the Mashiach when you uncover your limitations and your boundaries from doing what's right. that's actually bringing the Mashiach. You're uncovering what Mashiach is really all about. That's what the idea we learned from this Tazria Metzora Parsha is. And again, back to what we discussed before. When you're suffering, don't look at it. God forbid Hashem is punishing you. He is not. He's cleansing you. But of course, we request that he stops cleaning us, because the clothes cannot be in the washing machine for too long. Then it ends up getting ruined. So the process we're bringing out here is that whatever you're going through, whatever it may be, it's actually a challenge and a test for you to realize that Hashem is actually bringing you to a much higher ultimate process. And that's the lesson of the Torah portions. Don't look at the blemishes, don't look at the affliction and the tzaras as something negative. On the contrary, because he was speaking Lashon Hara and he was speaking slander, Hashem says, okay, I need to clean you. A punishment, a cleansing process, reach a higher level. And that's the name of Tazria, which is conceiving in order to give birth. Any questions?
Yes, Rabbi.
Yes.
So I'm a little bit confused, because it seems that Mashiach will come if everything is good and perfect, or if everything is bad and horrible, right? So
no, so that Mashiach is the Maimonides actually explains that the world, you're supposed to look at the world as a scale, and we are waiting to tip the scale to have more positive than negative, and that's the ultimate redemption of the Mashiach. And that's,
right, I thought if the world is in a horrible, if it's cataclysmic, if it's war, if there's like chaos, the more things are bad, then the Mashiach comes, or the more things that's good. So I'm curious, how can it be both? Like I read someplace, like if Shabbos was observed properly in all of Israel, the Mashiach could come.
right.
If,
So,
but then
so
if there's hope the Mashiach will come. So how can it be both?
So as far as the world being terrible things, that's sort of Hashem's choice. It's not our choice. You know, when there's wars, I mean, maybe it is in a way, but all those suffering we've already experienced. So meaning, when you're saying the world has to be so bad, and that's true, that's one of the signs of Mashiach. Not that it has to be, but that's one of the signs of Mashiach. Unfortunately, we've been through that with the Holocaust and all the sufferings we've been through. So that's already behind us. Baruch Hashem. I mean, it should never happen again. But the future relies on us to uncover this godliness that has to be done. And in a way, today the world is almost more positive, because a large amount of the Jews that are not religious yet, or not keeping mitzvot yet, a lot of it is not necessarily their fault. They weren't raised that way, so they're considered a child in captivity, which doesn't know better. So that's what the Rebbe explained, that a lot of the Jews, obviously we try to inspire as many Jews to get closer and closer to Yiddishkeit, but at the same time, the current circumstances is that a lot of people were raised a certain way, not yet religious, so some of them is not their fault, and that's why we judge the world being where there's so many good deeds that are done. And the Rebbe also explains that it's like on the shoulders of the giants. We might be much smaller, but we're on the shoulders of people that have done such fascinating things over the years. Yeah. All right. Sei gesund, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. And
that was great, Rabbi.
Thank you, Hilda.
It was absolutely great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll see you.
Thank you.